This is the PL-89 Gematriatic Quantum Thought Calendar. It is a lunar and solar calendar and several other calendars. And today, on the Hebrew calendar, it is the 10th day of Tevet, which is the 99th day of the year, starting from Rosh Hashanah, the Hebrew New Year. And the box would be right here. The 10th of Tevet is in box number 35. And if you remember back in October when Yom Kippur was, it was I think it was October 2nd. And October 2nd was Yom Kippur, and on the Hebrew calendar, Yom Kippur is the 10th day of Tishrei, and it was in the same box. Because this calendar, as you'll see, doesn't have any names of months. It's only numbers. So you can plug in the calendar, and it doesn't matter what the name of the month is. If it's in that setting, it will go back around to that same number. It's like a meditation, and that's why it's a gematriatic quantum thought calendar, because it's just the numbers that you're paying attention to, and the months are understood by themselves. It's just like saying, let's say I said October, January, April, July, right? Those 4 months. I just called them 1, 2, 3, 4. And the setting is that in the third setting, known as dispensations in this calendar, 1, 2, 3, and 4 all go here. They start here and end over here. That means that whether it's July, whether it's Tammuz, whether it's January, whether it's Tevet, whether it's Tishrei, whether it's October, it doesn't matter. Any of those months, no matter where you are, you're going to be on the 10th day of that month. That means it comes Nisan time. Nisan 10th is going to be here. April 10th is going to be here. July 10th is going to be here. Tammuz 10th is going to be here. And so I don't know what anyone else would think about it, because this is right now still very subjective, but I'd like to find some consensus if this can help with memory. Because if you're doing the same thing, and like I look at Yom Kippur this year, I remember where I was, and I remember what number day it was. It wasn't just the 10th, it was actually 35th on this calendar. And I have a whole visual view of it in my mind. So it's 35, and for the solar calendar or the Gregorian calendar, it's December 30th, and the 30th is always going to be box number 30. Same explanation as I gave before. Of course, December 30th, Kislev 30 was over here. There's no Elul 30. There's only Elul 29, but okay, Adar 30. Maybe I'm not sure if Adar is 30 or not. Adar might be 29. But if Adar is 30, then March 30 was over here. Anyway, when it comes, there's a special format to this calendar. When it gets to 30, and let's just say in the Gregorian month, you have 31 days. In the Hebrew calendar, you'll never have this issue. But on the Gregorian calendar, you will. Let's say December or any mutable month starts from here, and it ends right here. 30 days from the 23, which has to be on box 23, and 30 has to be on box 30. Now, what happens on a Gregorian month when you have 31 days? Like this month, December, tomorrow we'll have 31. So do you go to the next box? No. The answer is no. This box here, 30, is a pregnant box. You can call it that. It's bloated. It's like you basically, not bloat, I mean, no, that's a good word for it. It's pregnant. It's basically, it holds 2 days. It holds both the 30th and the 31st. Why? Because the first day of and every month, here in this case it will be January 1st, must be in this box number 38, and it can't share any, in other words, it can't share the 31st and the 1st. The 31st must be shared with the 30th. And if you'll ask me why is that the case, I'm not exactly sure, but this is what came to me in my intuition. So going back to the same situation is when this month over here, the 23 must be the first. It has to be purely the first. 23 it cannot share. So therefore, if you have a 31 days and you're on the 15th is the 30th and the 31st. This is a pregnant box. The 15 and 30. Interesting, they're both pregnant boxes here. And 15 times 2 is 30, which is interesting. And I think that's the only time you have that, the 15 and the 30. Because when it comes to the other start of the month here, you never have that issue. Because when you come to the beginning of it, there's 3 starting points, okay? The starting point is here, right? Of course, you can start from here as well. And for different counts, you start from here. But you start from here, which is the first. But on the PL-89 calendar, since in English it reads from left to right, and if you're a Hebrew, you'll read from right to left, but still you'll read numbers the same way you read English. So that took precedence when it comes to reading the calendar. So reading the calendar, whether Hebrew or English, it doesn't matter. You're reading it like this, from left to right. There's 3 starting points. There's a box with an 8 printed on it, which is the first box. You can call it box number 1, or you can call it box number 8. But the first box has 8 printed on it. And then the second box has 17 printed on it. Why? Because 8 plus 9 is 17. And then it goes to 8 plus 9. This calendar is based on 8 plus 9. So there's 3 boxes, like I'll say again, I was getting sidetracked because I go off on a tangent. There's 3 starting points of this calendar, which represent the 3 months of this calendar, which is a mercurial year. It's a whole year of Mercury. Why? Because it takes Mercury 88, which is almost 90 days, give or take. So it takes Mercury, according to published data, 88 days to revolve around the sun. Why Mercury? That's for a different time, because I'll keep on getting sidetracked. Let's go back to it again. Every time I want to say something, I go off on a tangent. There are 3 starting points on this calendar, okay? Which is right here. It's number 1. That's the first month of a cycle. The second month it's box 8, 1 with 8 printed on it. The second month of this flow or pattern or counting or cycle or whatever must be the box with number 23 printed on it. Okay? You can't share with anything else. Okay? It's actually the 31st box of the count this way, but it printed 23. Okay? Now, the third month must be box 38. Must. It cannot share with anything else. Has to start here. So it's 8, 23, and then 38. So you could say that 8 plus 15 is 23. And 23 plus 15 is 38. Therefore, look at what's next to it. The box number 15 is the one that has to be pregnant. And box number 30, which is really another 15, it's just the second 15, 15 times 2, is the box that must be pregnant. But not 23 or 38. Okay? That is the rules of this calendar. Now, what I do to calculate gematria, sometimes when I do these PL-89s, I spend time speaking about the rules of the calendar, like I did today, and oftentimes I do that, and that can just take so much time. It took already 10 minutes. But really, what this calendar is meant to do is to calculate gematria, and there's different methods of how it can do that. So the method that I'm working with right now is, I don't have a name for it yet, but it's when you take the number of the box that represents the sun. Today it's 30, because December 30th isn't going to be in this box. So the box number is 30. And the number 35, because the 10th day of Tevet is in box number 35. And what I'll do is, maybe I'll call it Sun and the Moon, or Greg Heb, or whatever you want to call it, is where you add them together. So if you add 30 and 35, you get 65. And I chose 6, and the idea is to choose 6 words. Now it's in English language, because I use English gematria. This is a study in English gematria. And I'll just go off on one more tangent, because there's so many, but this one's important. Because if you remember in the book of Samuel, it's in 2 Samuel, the second book of Samuel, in the 6th chapter, but it's also in the first book of Chronicles in the 13th chapter. And it talks about the story of when King David wanted to move the ark from somewhere to somewhere else. And someone named Uzzah stretched out his hand to try to hold the ark, and he died because of it. And this ark eventually ended up staying at someone's house by the name of Oved Edom. See 2 Samuel chapter 6 and 1 Chronicles is the parallel of that, chapter 13. Is it 13? I hope it is. Well, just look. If it's not exactly 13, then just look it up. Right, just Peretz Uzzah. Look up Peretz Uzzah in Samuel Chronicles. You find it. What it says there is that the ark eventually stayed at a Levi's house named Oved Edom the Gittite. And Gittite, he wasn't a Gittite of a Canaanite. Gittite, someone from Gat. But maybe there's a few reasons given. Maybe he lived in Gat Ramon for some time, or he lived in Gat, or something like that. He's called the Gittite, but don't be confused with an actual Gittite. I think he was always a Levite. I mean, I've seen some explanations given that he was a Gittite and he became a Levite. No such thing. If someone's a Levite, they have to be born a Levite. I'm pretty sure of that. But it stayed at his house, the ark stayed at his house for 3 months, and I don't think he touched it. But maybe he did. Maybe Uzzah touched it. Maybe he was impure. Who knows? Who really knows? We don't know. It's kind of mysterious. We just know that he touched it and he died. But it says that when it stayed at Oved Edom's house, he was blessed by it. Him and his whole household was blessed by the ark being in his house. Again, he may not have touched it, or maybe he touched it, and maybe there's a different reason that Uzzah touched it and died. We just don't know. But my point is that it says in the verse that the ark stayed at Oved Edom's house for exactly this period of time. The amount of time that this calendar measures is the amount of time that the ark stayed at Oved Edom's house, which is 90 days. 3 months. It says 3 months, but 3 months could be like, and it's called a PL-89 for that reason. It's like because you're factoring in the 88 days of Mercury's orbit. You're factoring in 90 days, which is 3 times 30. And you're including 91 days, which could be, if it's like a quarter of 365. Whatever it is, 3 months, but this is 3 months. So, why is it important that Oved Edom was blessed by the ark being in his house for this amount of time? This is a direct connection to what this is. This is called the PL-89 Gematria Quantum Thought Calendar, which has an emphasis on English Gematria. But what does Edom mean? If you see the patterns in Tanakh, Edom from the very beginning is associated with Esav. Right? It says when he bought the birthright, when he sold the birthright for some red lentils, it says he was called Edom. He said, "Give me this red thing." Okay? So why would a Levite be called Oved Edom? Can you think of a reason why a Levite would be called Oved Edom? Based on the Pshat, I can't think of a reason why someone, a Levite, would be called after a name of Edom, which is generally associated with Esav and his descendants, his lineage, his descendancy. And it's generally counter to Israel, for at least in many contexts. And Edom became Rome, which is widely accepted that Edom is Rome. And Rome, we know, was very antagonistic, and except for some cases where certain Roman emperors were friendly with certain rabbis of the Jews, but generally Rome was known to subjugate Israel, and Rome laid siege to the temple, the second temple, and laid heavy burdens, and was responsible for a lot of bloodshed of the Hebrews, of the Jewish people, for no reason. So why would a Levite be called Oved Edom, a servant of Edom? Well, this is a very long discussion, and maybe not for now, but there is something good about Esav that is to be redeemed. And this would go to a connection that Jacob would need to make with Esav, his brother, to bring the redemption. And since this calendar focuses a lot on English Gematria, it's called Oved Edom. The Oved means the work of Edom, which means that I'm working within a context of Edom. But I'm not negating the work that has to do with Israel. I'm saying that Edom is a necessary ingredient. And how does that translate to English? Because English is, you could say, not Jewish. You could say it's not Hebrew. And you can connect English to Edom much faster than you could connect it to Hebrew, to Jacob. Even though some English comes from Hebrew, that's true, but generally, so that's the connection between Oved Edom and this calendar. So, getting back to the method, you add the sun and the moon, that comes 65, and these are the 5 words that I chose today. These 5 words equal 65 in English Gematria, in Edom Gematria, in Esav Gematria. Okay? The word choose, the word available, and the words I will. That can be one expression. Just I will. That's considered one thing. I will equals, like I will do something. I will equals 65. The word alphabet, beyond, and stay. choose, available, I will, alphabet, beyond, and stay. Each one of those words have an exact numerical value of 65 in English, aka Edom, aka Esav, Gematria. So, how did I come up with these words? Well, what I did was I have a list of many, many hundreds of words that equal 65, and it's made available through a website called Gematrix or Gematrix. Many of you may know about it, and it's a Gematria calculator, but it also has words that it's an open source thing. Anyone can add a word that equals something and the result, and it's added to the list. So each one of these words, choose, available, I will, alphabet, beyond, and stay, equals 65. And Edom Gematria, English Gematria, is just A is 1, B is 2, C is 3, D is 4. Very simple. It's English ordinal Gematria. Okay. So the question is, does choose have to do with I will? Absolutely. If you will to do something, then you're choosing to do it. And that equals 65. Some of these words are not so easy to connect. Like, for example, stay. What does stay have to do with I will? Other than if you wanted to say I will stay. You could do that. And if I will stay, then you would have chosen to stay. But what does alphabet have to do with that? How about beyond? So the truth of the matter is that I don't have all the time in the world. And I have to pick within a certain period of time. We're dealing with 5-10 minutes because of many other things to do in the day. This is just one exercise. So sometimes I'll pick ones that are, the best for now because I have to move on. So I picked choose, available. Now whatever is available, that you can choose from. But there are some things that you cannot choose from because they're not available. I can see that connection. Now alphabet, that's a little more abstract. Like alphabet and available and choose and I will. You can say generally that alphabet are letters that when you form a thought, generally I would think that this could be a debate for a different time, but if you think, are you thinking in your language? When you think, let's say English is your main language, do you think in English? These days I actually think in Hebrew as well as English. But either way, your thoughts can be made into words, and words are formed in letters. Therefore, the word alphabet has a connection with the word choose, because when you think about something, you are formulating thoughts which could be made into words, which could be formed of letters. Therefore, alphabet is in fact related to the word choose, available, I will. Now, the word beyond is a little bit out there. Beyond, now I can connect stay with beyond. I can say, you've stayed beyond your welcome, or I've stayed beyond my welcome. If you don't go beyond a certain point, you will stay here. Now, how to connect those two with the other four, that is a lot of work, which I don't have the time for right now. So I'll leave it as food for thought if you've made it this far. If you have chosen to stay beyond 20 minutes of this, then it will be available for you to think about all those words are equal to 65, which is today's Gematriatic day. by adding the sun and then